here, and the food which Selena made, and with the help of my other daughter, Leslie, who flew all the way from Boston. Everybody who's here now, as you know, I know most everybody, and I do want to thank my 4 children for having this party. I have a number of things I'd like to discuss and talk about, but it isn't very long. At first, I was going to make a speech, a very short speech, for about an hour. And then Erica comes over and says to me, "Are you nuts?" Which is not a terrible thing for her to say. But she said, "Are you nuts?" So I said, "Honey, don't worry about it. Darling, I'll make it shorter." And I did. I made it shorter. I made it for 30 minutes instead of an hour. She said, 30 minutes? Are you crazy? That's another nice compliment I got. And then I said, "I'll make it shorter." Because then I cut it from 30 minutes and went down to 25 minutes. She said, "20? Who's going to sit still for 25 minutes to listen to what all that bullshit you want to put out?"
I didn't say that. I
We
said
know that. We know that.
people don't want to hear about your sex life.
No, that's a shorter,
Then
speech.
I said, I made one for just 3 or 4 minutes. That's more like it. They'll listen to what you have to say. So I put this on these little 3x5 cards, which I've ordered, and I have a few more. So, should anybody want any details, you can have details. This is the 3 or 4 minute speech. I may not be able to read some of it because the light is not as light as I like it, but nevertheless, I got off the train after being in New York. I was born in New York. At the age of 2, my mother's best friend and her sister, her older sister, Lena, I was born in New York, where I was born, and at the age of 2, she put me on a ship, and I came back here to Los Angeles, and the first thing I remember is when I got off the train in Los Angeles. I do remember that very well. And then I moved on to Boyle Heights, and then I'm trying to read this all.
Do you have a phone on, a light on your phone, Erica?
And where my sister was born, 10 years later, and she had 4 children, and I think 3 of them are here now. 3 of the boys are here now. One is a surgeon,
I'm sorry.
and the other 2 are lawyers.
Does he have the lights?
There's a lot of lights. That helps.
Okay. That's wonderful.
And then I went up to grammar school, and then went in City Terrace, and went to Wilson and Roosevelt High. And then I went on to UCLA, and had an argument with the girl I knew, and I went home
Nothing's
and
changed.
used to write long love letters. And my cousin Stanley, who's here, who's only a year older than me. He's around here someplace.
Stanley, yeah.
And I went to New York and I stayed there, and then I moved in. I went back, and then I moved into a place in New York, in Manhattan, and I was appointed to be at their wedding, and I was appointed to be the bartender, because the best man was my cousin Stanley. My other cousin Murray was the best man, so they made me the bartender. Only I drank everything that was there, and I was a little loaded, to say the least. I then went back home to Los Angeles, and then married Mary Lee. Lee is the mother of my daughter Leslie, and my son Michael, who are both here, and then I went on to Washington D.C. to testify for my friend Leo, who was one of my closest friends, who was head of the math department at Berkeley. And I went to testify because he was then taken into the Army, and they wanted to give him a dishonorable discharge, which meant he could never teach again. And I testified that he was not a communist, and that we had long discussions, and I proved it by showing that I had written a paper some 6 months before showing how anti-communist we were. Then Lee divorced me, and I moved on to Hollywood, and then I met my friend Yona, and then Leo and I went on to Europe, and we went to Paris, where I was. We went to I went to Denmark, where I met a Russian girl who didn't believe in shaving. And my daughter, my wife doesn't want me to discuss this. She had long black hair on her legs, and she came out of Russia, and she had long black hair coming out of her armpits. And I never saw that before in my life, although I had 2 kids. I never saw black hair coming out. I didn't know that women grew long black hair out of their armpits. She did. She showed me. I don't want to tell you anything more. I didn't want me to discuss this. We then got a car. We went to Paris, and I bought a car, a little car, for $2,000. They don't make those kind of cars anymore. But anyway, I bought a car, and we traveled on to Switzerland, and from there on to Italy. And from Italy, then I went on to Spain, where I met a famous girl who came to Los Angeles, and she was staying at a hotel in Beverly Hills, here in Beverly, at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, that was being paid by a famous designer. And my mother said to me, she says, "What are you doing that for? That's crazy." She said, "You have a house of your own. Why are you staying in a hotel?" I said, "Ma, Blackwell is paying for her hotel, and there's a big suite in there, and I get to stay there also." And she said, "Why don't we get married?" I said, Cary Grant will be your best man, and you can get married to me." And I said, "No, I don't want to marry you." So I went on to marry Yona, and she was very helpful with me, because she came up to one of my parties with a famous actor, and then I married her, and we traveled to Poland and Russia and Turkey, and Paris and London. I went to Malibu after I left Yona, and then I moved on to Santa Monica, where I met Erica. And we purchased a home in the desert, and we got married, and now the both of us live in the Coachella Valley. And I want to thank you all for coming.
Everybody was blocking us out.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's not a question. Yeah.
And by the way, I don't want
I'm glad I gave her the jacket. I mean, I have the jacket here, but it's hot.
I'll get through.
Oh,